Hello and welcome back to Pep Talks. I am, as ever, so glad you are here. It's been a couple of weeks since I last recorded an episode for you because it's been the Easter holidays and I've been away teaching accounting, putting my other business hat on for a couple of weeks. So I've been away teaching in Bristol for the last 2 weeks ago. And this week has just been crazy with getting things back on track. So, this is why there's been a gap. I make no apology for it. We run our own businesses, we are in control of the hours we put into our business, the content that we create, the way we interact with the world. And so, I have honoured that as a business owner myself the last couple of weeks. But we're back. We're back. And hopefully, we'll be back with some consistency now over the next few weeks. If you listened to my episode at the start of this year, you will know I did share with you at that point in time that there may be gaps because that's me honouring where I'm at, honouring whether I've got something to share with you, honouring my capacity and my energy. And that's something we're going to talk about today, actually, energy. And also just, yeah, having agency over how I run my business and what I put out into the world. So, as I say, I make no apology for the gap over the last couple of weeks, but I'm glad to be back with you today. And I've got something really, really important to share with you today. As I said, as I touched on just a moment ago, it's all about energy, but not in the way you might think about it. So, before we get into today's episode, I just want to say to you, if you're listening to this on a walk or you've carved out a few minutes for yourself today, I want you to notice that because that small act of showing up for yourself, that's what today's episode is all about. Because when we show up for ourselves, we all know we can give from a place of feeling so much more aligned with ourselves, from a place of positive energy, aligned energy, and just really giving our best to the world and to our clients and to the people that we mix with. But what I'm specifically talking about today is exercise. But as I say, not in the way you might expect it. This isn't about fitness goals or workout plans, as I've mentioned two or three times already. It's about energy. The kind of energy that fuels your business, sharpens your thinking, and quietly builds your self-belief. The kind that when it's there, it makes everything feel more possible. And when it's not, it makes even the simplest tasks feel like you're wading through treacle. In my work with my clients, energy isn't a nice to have. It's the very first piece of the framework that I use with my clients. Before we talk about strategy, before we talk about systems, before we look at how they can optimize their time and how they can schedule in everything in the limited hours that they have, we look at their capacity, we look at their energy, we look at what they really have available to them as a human with loads of other responsibilities, so that when they tap into their business, when they're working in or on their business, they're coming at it from the most optimal place possible as a human running a business. Because the thing is, if your energy is depleted, your business is always going to feel harder than it needs to. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But we're also going to tap into something pretty personal as well. And the reason I'm sharing this episode with you today is because of an experience that I have had over the last few months. Because I let my own routine drift. And I want to share with you what that cost me and why I have come back to it and what it's felt like to come back to it as well. So if you've been in a bit of a slump lately, or you know you're running on empty, or you have been running on empty, and you're not quite sure why, this one is for you. Let's get into it, shall we? Something I've come to realize recently is that exercise needs to be part of my day. It's not an optional extra. It's not something I'll get round to when things calm down. It's a non-negotiable. And I say I realize this because this isn't new information to me. I know this. And if you've been in my world for any length of time, you will know that I'm a qualified personal trainer. I'm also a certified nutritionist. So for me, exercise and diet and moving my body and eating well and looking after my human body is really, really fucking important. But I am a human and therefore I do let things slip on occasion. So, yeah, I have realized how important it is to me. As I say, I've always known this, but sometimes life just gets in the way. You know the score, right? And slowly, gradually, without you even really noticing, the thing that was keeping you grounded quietly slips off that priority list. If you've been listening to me for some time or you follow me on social media, you will know that I head out on a walk most days. And you will also know how much I harp on about the importance of movement as a business owner. But in this episode, I want to take it one step further because I think there's a much deeper conversation to be had here beyond just movement is good for you. We all know that. What I want to talk about is what happens to your business when you stop looking after you. So, the reason this episode exists is because, as I've mentioned already, I had let my workout even regime drift quite significantly, actually. What with a building project, having to move out of our home for 3 months, a busy work schedule, and all the family birthdays happening at the back end of last year, along with Christmas, of course, I just stopped prioritizing exercise. I simply felt I didn't have time for it, which, as we know, is complete bullshit, but that's how I felt at the time. And the thing is, I didn't make a conscious decision to stop. It wasn't like I sat down one day and said, right, I'm going to deprioritize my health for the next few months. It was just death by a thousand cuts. One skipped session here, one I'll do it tomorrow there. And before I knew it, weeks had gone by. I was choosing, even if not consciously, to give my time and energy to everything other than myself. Yes, I was still heading out for my daily walk. And I want to be clear, I'm not dismissing that. Walking is brilliant, and I will never stop banging that drum. But what I've come to realize is that I need more than that. And when I give myself a little time to move my body in a more structured, more focused way, even for just 20 or 30 minutes, not only do I feel good physically for it, but my energy improves in this much deeper, more fundamental way. It's not just my physical energy, it's that deeper inner energy, the energy that creates a spark, the energy that builds momentum, the energy that creates more flow in my work, in my thinking, in my creativity, the energy that means I'm actually more focused and more efficient. And therefore, ironically, I get more done on the days I work out than the days I don't, even though technically I have fewer hours at my desk. And this is exactly why energy and capacity is the first thing I look at with all of my clients. Because before we talk about the most impactful actions you can take to grow your business, we need to look at your capacity and your energy. Because without understanding those things, hours can disappear into thinking instead of doing, and nothing moves forward. When your energy rises, your clarity rises, your decision making rises, your ability to follow through rises. And this is the part most business owners skip. It's the part that changes everything. And here's where I want to go a bit deeper with you. So many people exercise purely because it's good for their physical body. And of course, yes, it absolutely is. I'm not going to argue with that. But I genuinely think we undersell exercise when we frame it only in physical terms, because there is so much more to it than that. Exercise boosts your mental health, full stop. It boosts your resilience, that gritty, quiet resilience that you need in bucket loads as a business owner. It increases your inner capacity, your ability to handle more, to process more, to hold more without feeling overwhelmed. It helps you cope with stress better in the moment. And it also works on a more physiological level, helping you to balance hormones that in turn help to minimize stress on the body, the mind, and the emotions. So you're not just managing the symptoms of stress, you're actually reducing the load at the source. That is massive. And then the sleep. I could talk about sleep forever. And actually, I did dedicate a whole get my words out. I did dedicate a whole episode to this back in March last year. It's episode number 12 if you want to go and have a listen. But in short, sleep is the foundation of everything else, in my opinion. As I say, I'm not going to go into it too deeply here, given there's a whole other episode on this that you can dig into. But what I do want to say is that exercise is one of the things that helps you sleep more deeply and consistently. So when I say exercise is foundational to my business, I mean it because it sets off a whole chain reaction of amazing things. But ultimately, it's the energy piece that I come back to time and again as my main motivation to exercise, not the aesthetics, not even the health benefits, as important as they are, but the energy. Because I know what I'm like without it, and I know what I'm like with it, and the difference is night and day. It can be so tempting, can't it, when we feel sluggish? You know that feeling, that heavy, foggy, can't be bothered feeling. It can be so tempting to crash on the sofa with a cuppa and a biscuit and wait for it to pass. And honestly, I get it. In that moment, that feels like exactly what you want to do. It feels exactly what you need. And here's the thing, it's actually the last thing your body or your mind actually needs. When we feel sluggish, we need to move. That's what we're designed to do as humans. We are literally built for movement. We are not designed for sitting at desks for hours on end, staring at screens, barely shifting position. So it's really no wonder that when we live that way, which so many of us as business owners do, we end up feeling flat and depleted. Movement wakes the body up. It gets blood pumping to all of your vital organs, including your brain, which, as someone running their own business, is arguably the most important asset. And I want to come back to something I said earlier about time, because I know this is the objection I hear most often. And honestly, it was my own objection for a while too. I don't have time to exercise, and I understand it truly. But here's what I've come to understand. Those 30 minutes I put into a workout gives back on so many levels that it is never a waste of time. It never actually reduces the productive hours I have available. Because yes, in literal terms, I've lost 30 minutes. But in energy and efficiency terms, I have created far more than I've lost. The return on investment is huge. I'm sharper, I'm more decisive, my mind flows better, I faff less, I make quicker, more aligned decisions. And so by investing a small chunk of time each day in my physical health, I am simultaneously investing in my business, not in that slightly cringy, healthy you, healthy business way, although I do believe that's true, but in a far more tangible, measurable way, by aligning my energy with my business goals, by ensuring that the version of me who shows up to work is the version who is actually capable of driving things forward. And here's something else I've been thinking about. It ripples out beyond the business too, into my relationships, into the energy I bring into my home. That inner fire I was talking about, when it's lit, it's felt by the people around me. Not in a big, loud, overwhelming way, just in a quiet, she feels good today kind of way. A warmth, a presence. And that matters too. There's also something about the confidence piece that I want to touch on before I wrap up, because I think this is underrated too. Exercise gives me that inner confidence. And I want to be clear, it's not the exercise itself doing that. It's not about how I look or how fit I am. It's about the fact I'm showing up for myself consistently, even when I don't feel like it, even when the workout is hard and I'm out of breath and I want to quit. The fact that I finish anyway, that does something to my self-belief. It proves something to me about myself. And that quiet proof, that private little win, it carries, right? It flows out into everything else I do, and particularly into my business. Because the resilience I show myself by completing a tough workout is the same resilience that helps me push through the hard days in business. They're not separate, they never were. In my work with my clients, we talk a lot about capacity, as I mentioned earlier, not in the productivity sense, but in the human sense. How can you build your inner capacity? And exercise is one of those techniques, right? One of those tools that we can put in our tool belt and use to build our inner capacity. And it also gives you more emotional and cognitive room to handle the realities of running a business with limited hours. So, if your workout regime has drifted, no judgment. As I said earlier on, mine did too. I just want this episode to be a gentle nudge. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't have to commit to an hour a day or sign up for a marathon. Just start. Even 10 minutes, 5 minutes even. Just start. Because the ripple effect of that small, consistent investment in yourself is far bigger than you might think. This is why I always say your business doesn't run on time, it runs on energy. Time is fixed, energy is renewable. And when your energy rises, everything else becomes easier. Your focus, your follow through, your boundaries, your ability to execute the 2 or 3 things that actually matter that week or that day. So that's where I'll leave you today with a gentle challenge. Not to overhaul your entire routine or sign up for something you'll dread. Just to ask yourself, what's one small way I can move my body with a bit more intention this week? That's it. Start there. Because the ripple effect of that one small decision on your energy, your focus, your resilience, your relationships is so much bigger than it might seem in the moment. And if today's episode has resonated, here's my invitation. Come and join me in my free weekly clarity and calm journaling circle. I know it's not exercise, but it is a quiet, grounding space to check in with yourself each week. And if you've been running on fumes lately, it might be exactly what you need. The link to join us is in the show notes if this sounds like the sort of thing that might be up your street. And if you're ready for a bit more support around your business specifically, I also offer free 30-minute action filter calls. I offer 5 of these a month, and when they're gone, they're gone. But if that sounds like something you might be interested in finding out a little bit more about, the link is down in the show notes, and via that link, you will find another link to book in with me if, once you've read about what they are, you are interested in doing that. No pressure. It's just a space to untangle the spaghetti in your head with someone who gets it. And just one last thing, if I may. If this episode has given you something today, sharing it with another business owner or leaving a review genuinely helps more people find this show. It takes just 2 minutes and it really does make a difference. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself. I will see you in the next episode, and I would love to hear from you if you have acted on any of the guidance, recommendations I have given to you in this episode. And I would love to hear from you even more when you've acted on those things and how you have seen your energy improve. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will be back with you very soon. Take care. Lots of love.